Hello, it is the Late Challenge. I'm Gareth Roberts, he's Mo Stewart, and it is our third birthday as a podcast there, so thanks very much for supporting us as ever. We're still here, we're still going, and all of you people who watch, listen, send us little chat things, go on the Patreon, share it, all of that, it's all appreciated. We've kept it going. We're still here.
Didn't bring any balloons or out though.
No.
Didn't really feel like it, did it?
No, didn't feel that birthday, to be honest. But as you were coming into the studio tonight, Mo, did you see the sky?
No, I didn't look up. Why?
It was a golden sky.
Oh.
It was a golden sky after the storm yesterday. Unfortunately, then, we do have to talk about the Reds. I've got a bit of a... Is it a rant? It might be a rant.
I love how you're also coy about them now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've owned my ranting over the years. I mean, I literally made my own magazine and put a column in it called Robbo's Rants. So, I'm aware of how I'm seen by the wider world. But yeah, anyway, this is my rant then, if that's what it is. It's just, it's not a rant, it's a soliloquy.
Okay. Maybe less poetic than a normal soliloquy, but we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so here it is. 13 Premier League games to go. Liverpool are 6th. We're 5 points off Manchester United in 4th. We're 4 off Chelsea in 5th. We're level with Brentford in 7th. Everton are 2 behind us. Sunderland, where we go on Wednesday, are only 3 behind us. It's a tough watch. It's a tough season. It's a tough time to be a Red. And even our new defender, who hasn't even moved to Liverpool yet, is injured. There are grim stats everywhere. There are records that you don't want your name or your club next to. And then next up for the Reds is a side that are unbeaten at home, while we've got 4 players who can all play right back unavailable. So let's then have a big old chat and see if it makes us feel any better. Spoiler, probably won't. It's 11 defeats now, as I'm sure you all know. It's 8 defeats in the league. We've still got to go to Everton. We've still got to go to Manchester United. We've still got to go to Aston Villa. But let's be honest, at this point, any of the 13 opponents who've got left probably fancy their chances. So you start to think, how many more is it going to be in that L column at the end of the season? Now, this is where, and I get it, some people start reaching and are reaching for Roy Hodgson comparisons. Now, I'm sorry, but this is where we get into nonsense territory. Because when that knobhead was here, Hodgson wasn't just losing games, he was losing the club. He talked us down. He had to go at Liverpool fans. We were playing shit football. He signed shit players. He sucked up to Alex Ferguson and Mourinho, and he should never have been anywhere near the job. The football was shite. The mood was toxic, and everything about it felt small. This is nothing like that. This is a bad season. It's a painful season. It's one where a first team player has passed away. It's one full of injuries, disruption, chaos. One where there was a process to freshen the squad, and that started and then it stopped. And it's one where the powers that be at the club have decided to sit on their hands in the January transfer window for reasons best known to themselves. Is this the end of the world as we know it? No. Do I feel fine? Also no. But this is my point. We've been here before, like in 2020-21, under Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool lost 9 games in the league. We finished 3rd on 68 points. We won nothing. In 2022-23, it was 9 defeats in the league again. We finished 5th on 67 points. We won nothing. We didn't get into the Champions League. So what followed those seasons? Well, in 21-22, we won the FA Cup, the League Cup. We got 92 points in the league and finished 2nd. And we got to the Champions League final, the Paris shit show. In 23-24, we won the League Cup. We got 3rd place. We got 82 points. And that was Jurgen's last dance. And the season after that, Arne Slot won the league. So what's the point? It's that good seasons can follow bad ones. And Liverpool can, whether we like it or not, tolerate a bad season. Because what our owners clearly don't do is fire managers on a whim if they think there's a way back. And if they ever decide to, they want to be damn sure of what is coming next. So who is that? And even if it is Xabi Alonso, does he want to come now? Or does he want to come in the summer? So look, it feels shite. It is shite. But for me, and I'm guessing for Mo, because I can see him nodding in the corner of my eyes, it's not Hodgson territory, not even close. And whether you, me, Mo, or anyone else likes it, I just don't see the decision makers at this club pulling the trigger on the manager right now. But even these hardened lovers of blocking out the noise and diving into data will feel all this. They'll all feel it. We feel it, they feel it, we all feel it. Arne's feeling it, the players feel it. Everyone associated with Liverpool will be feeling this. And so that means that every defeat means they could, or they might, or negotiations behind the scenes with someone else might step up. But yeah, the feeling thing brings me nicely to Mo.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Pained is how I'm feeling. Genuinely pained. And I think this is one of those situations where what we do in terms of talking about it, going over it, it doesn't help at the beginning, but once we finish doing it, I will feel better. So this is just the bit you've got to get through. And I think that's a really good metaphor for everyone out of it. Because it's like all of what you're saying, particularly the Hodgson comparisons, it's like, this is bad, but it's not the worst ever. It doesn't have to be the worst ever. It can just be really bad. If people really feel like this is worse than the Hodgson era or even comparable to the Hodgson era, what I say to them is, you're very lucky, because clearly you don't remember the Hodgson era that well, because it was much worse than this. I actually had an argument with someone online about a week ago, when I said that the 2021 season was worse than this. And they were like, how can you say it was worse than this? I was like, guys, do you remember that thing called COVID? That kind of was that massive shit blanket that covered the entire planet? Yeah, that made it all worse. That was much worse than this. So we've dealt with bad and come out the other side. The one thing that I always love about football is that there's always another season. There's always another time to start again and build anew. And look, if Liverpool don't get into the Champions League, it's going to be shit. No one wants Thursday night football. No one wants to have our Saturday football taken away, because that's exactly what would happen. For me, my journalist perspective, it'll be an absolute ball ache having to do all the different press conferences only Friday evenings rather than Friday mornings and all other kinds of stuff. That is definitely true. But I look at where we are right now, and I think that we aren't as far away from being a good team as it currently feels. That's almost the frustrating part about Liverpool right now, is that they have the ability to put in some really good performances. It's just they don't have the ability to string them together. So look, there's a really good team in there. They're just fighting to get out. So who's to say that in a few months' time, that team will get out and we'll get to next season and suddenly lots of things will be clicking. That doesn't mean everything has to be blown up. But that doesn't make me feel any better right now. Like, we
just have to deal with the reality, don't we? All we can do is keep going a match, keep supporting the team, and in terms of the actual podcast, keep on making the podcast and keep on talking about it. And what else can you do? I mean, all we can talk about is how it felt, what it was like, where we think it might go, and all the rest of it. And in terms of the game, I don't know what you thought, but I was actually quite hopeful going into it, because I thought, this Man City's not a fantastic Man City. There are comparisons, I suppose, with Liverpool, and that there is clearly talent in the sides, and yet at times they look disjointed. They've been poor in second halves over and over again. By their own fans' admission, they're not great, and they're not sure where they're going to go or what they're going to do this season. They're not that cocky at the moment, when they very much are when they are, if you know what I mean. So I was kind of sort of going into it thinking, well, we've got this Anfield hoodoo over them, and I'm very sad that that's gone. Yeah, I really enjoyed saying every year their fans haven't seen them win at Anfield since 2003 when they had Fowler and Elker and Kevin Keegan as the manager. I enjoyed bringing that up every year.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed, there would always be someone you would tell it and they'd have a bit of surprise on their face going, really, is it that long? And, it's 1937, the last time they did the double overs. We've had this great thing of getting up their nose and doing Guardiola's head in. So I was kind of hopeful that, that would come to the fore again, but it wasn't to be.
No, and it's funny actually, because I actually spoke about that before the game, exactly saying that both teams are vulnerable in a way that they haven't been for a while, but you hope that the Anfield factor would be the trump card. And particularly in that first 10, 15 minutes, there was a real hope that was the case. Like, the atmosphere was on point. Everything was getting cheered. Every tackle was getting cheered. Like, City were kind of trying to draw Liverpool onto them in terms of the pressing and the defensive end. But that really ramped up the crowds. So everyone was, every time that Liverpool nearly stole the ball off a City player, you could just sense it going up and up. And there were a couple of times when they were panically play the ball out. And you think, yes, come on, this is what we want. This is what we want. We can get on top of them. But then, look, we're going to come on to talk about the tactics and all those kind of things. But for me, it felt like City had a game plan, and you could see what that game plan was. And you could see it in action when they had the ball, what they wanted to do, how they were planning to get to the edge of our area and hopefully shoot a goal. When it came to Liverpool, I struggled to see what the game plan was. Like, after all, 2 games where we've been scoring goals for fun, loads of attacking players looking really good, Gravenberch looking back to his best, all that kind of stuff. It just felt like another one of those games where every time a Liverpool player got the ball, they couldn't really find a pass. There was like 3 opponents in between them every time. And yeah, some of that City doing well, but it was just a bit like, I was hoping that we got past this part of Liverpool, and they hadn't. And so City got the upper hand. But then even then, it's 0-0 at half time, and you think, well, maybe we've survived the worst of it. What you're saying about City being bad in the second half. Then Liverpool are better in the second half. They're winning more duels. They're on the front foot, more aggressive. They're getting shots in. You're thinking, okay, this could be one of those things we haven't seen a lot of this season, where Liverpool get a lot better in the second half, like they did last season. Then they score the goal. You think, wow, Liverpool can actually go and win this game.
What a goal as well.
What a goal as well. And then it's almost like that was the high point of the mountain. And from there, it just kind of went.
I mean, there's loads of stuff, isn't there, as well in the game where I think, like, I've seen everyone absolutely losing their minds over it and all the rest of it. And look, as I've said already myself, I'm not happy. It's grim. It's grim to lose this many games. There's plenty more games to play, and therefore you would think we're likely going to see more defeats, unfortunately. Like I said, loads of statistics, out there that are just really grim reading and all the rest of it. And yet, you just think, well, there are just things in that game that are so annoying where you think, like the manager's got nothing to do with Alisson's rush of blood. The manager can do absolutely nothing of Donnarumma pulling off a world-class save at the end from McAllister. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, there are always random moments in football, and that's almost why we love it so much. And like, I was a bit like, can we not have one of them, please? You know what I mean? Can we not just claim one of them? And look, it wasn't there. And, people will rightly say, yeah, you spent loads of money, and so it should be a bit more than holding on to a 4-leaf clover. But, nevertheless, it would have been nice. I mean, when I was talking about sort of how you felt going in as well, did you think at all, that, like, I know we'd played well against Newcastle and we got a 4-1 win, but equally, that was Newcastle, not Manchester City. So when he names an unchanged lineup, were you a bit surprised that he maybe hadn't sacrificed an attacker and played Curtis Jones?
A little bit, but I also think that he was thinking, okay, we're at home, so let's maybe expect the best. Let's say that Liverpool are going to go and impose ourselves on them, and it's going to be good, and we're going to get the best out of us. I also think, if you remember the first game between the two, City kind of allowed Konate and Conor Bradley to have the ball, and thought that they couldn't pass it around them. So the idea of having someone like Szoboszlai who can play passes from deep, playing at right back, kind of makes sense. And then when you see that Doku's not playing, and then there's only really Marmoush playing out wide rather than like Semenyo or like another dangerous winger, you think, okay, well, maybe Dom can survive out there, but then you really did miss him in that central areas. And I think one of the reasons Liverpool got better in the second half is that he was appearing more in those central areas. He was just thinking, right, fuck this, I'm just going to go. But I think there's definitely a conversation around how many players Liverpool have, how many players Slot wants to use. And again, it's a conversation that everybody kind of made their opinions up about long ago. But I don't mind the fact that he went for a more attacking option. But I think when you saw the way the first half played out, I felt like if he had chosen an Endo or, as you say, Curtis Jones at right back and then had Dom Szoboszlai midfield, he probably would have been able to survive it. And the irony is, for as good as Dom played, he was the one who ultimately was playing Bernardo Silva onside when they scored the equaliser, because he's not naturally a right back. So he's not always thinking about the defensive line in those situations. He's thinking about, okay, who have I got to tackle? So there's pros and cons to playing him there. And I mean, obviously, against Sunderland, we're not going to get to play him at all because he got sent off.
Yeah. Yes, we'll come on to Sunderland and what a challenge that will be for Liverpool and what Liverpool might do. I mean, in terms of the game, how we started the game and that kind of thing, you know, I liked how it felt in the ground. It felt like we were up for it. I thought that, you know, the crowd was up for it. The crowd was good at the very start of the game. You'd expect it to be, but it isn't always, but it was. It felt like, you know, everyone had sort of got themselves in a place where they were like, come on, we're having this. This is ours. Let's go. And the actual, you know, you've heard me on here bang on about the actual start of the game, like the first knock-ins of the game. What are we doing? You know, I liked it because we went and got stuck in, and we were up their end, as it were. And I was, and I was like, good. We're on the front foot. We're having a go. We're fighting. But then, literally, like, you know, a few seconds later, there's a ball over the top. And Alisson's having to save from Haaland, and Kirkes is then taking it away from him. And then it was sort of like that seemed to like knock them a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like they'd started really front foot, like I say, aggressive, which is what you wanted to see. But within, you know, they seem very fragile, like sort of mentally and psychologically or whatever. And, you know, when I was thinking about sort of why has, you know, Alisson, who's been brilliant for all of these years, why is he having that rush of blood, and what is he doing flying out of his goal and nearly falling on his ass, and, you know, and all of those, you know, like it's like they're all collectively like there's a voice in the collective head going, you know what I mean? And it's like, lads, just, you know what I mean? Like any team at its best is calm, and that voice in their head isn't doing that. And when you're watching them, it does feel like one or the other or more will be a bit like that. And I think we needed a bit of that, and we didn't get enough of that. And, you know, even when, like, the sort of game states, as people call it, you know, we're 1-0 up, and we retreat into our shell. But not only do we retreat into our shell, we're dozy with what we're doing. We keep giving the ball away, playing balls that aren't on, and it's like, take this thing out, lads. Keep the ball, lads. And they just couldn't, because it felt the same about, you know, it's almost like the pressure of, you know, being defending champions, being the top negative story day after day, knowing the manager's under pressure, knowing you've got some bell-end egghead making another video about how shit you all are. You know, all of these things, it feels like they are getting on top of them. And look, like, you know, my point really is that, you know, whether you want this manager in or out, like, you're not helping matters by just continually making it toxic around the club. As I've already said at the start, they're just not going to change it. They're just not. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There will be a point. There is always a point. And, you know, like, if we're getting knocked out of, if we're losing at Sunderland in the week and then getting knocked out of the FA Cup at the weekend, then wow, that is truly, you know, Arne Slot sitting in a room on fire saying this is fine with a cup of tea. But I still don't think they will be there. It doesn't matter where I am on it or you are on it. It's where they are. And, they put out, and we're going to talk about this, I think, more on the subscriber show, because it's a football heavy 2 shows today, because there's loads to get through. But the round table stuff, the timing of that interview going out, the fact that Richard Hughes is there and all that, it was almost like a bit of a
calm down, everyone.
Yeah, we're behind this fella. There's a long-term plan. It hasn't gone to plan this season, but we've bought young players and we're looking to the future. And sort of the rebuild isn't finished yet. We know that because we've got an injured player who's going to be coming in the summer.
Honestly, just a little aside on that. When I saw that, was one of those moments where I was just like, all right, okay, cool. Just wanted to throw my phone over my head as far as I could.
It's just one of them, isn't it? It's like, anything else, lads? Do you know what I mean? Anything else? What else have you got for me? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Look, so on the basis of the mentality of the players and all that kind of stuff, this is something that conversations happen again and again and again. And I think it's more evident at the end of the game, because you mentioned the fact that when they score, they're going into their shell a bit. It's almost a bit like that's just a natural thing of thinking, okay, well, we didn't think we would score 1, but we did. And we damn sure don't think we're going to score 2. So let's just try and hold on to this 1. And that's not when Liverpool are at their best. That's not when a lot of those players are at their best. So then they start making silly mistakes, silly decisions to try and just hoof the ball away rather than trying to find a red shirt and inviting pressure on themselves. And the calmness seems to have gone. And I think it's exacerbated by the fact that the people who are usually the most calm, namely Alisson, are now the people who are doing the mad shit. I mean, just think about it. If it was you and me, and suddenly, one week I just turned up and I was half dressed, only shaved half my beard, just looking rough as fuck. I was just all right, come on, let's have you. You'd be like, you all right? What's happening?
Checking your beard now, lad.
Yeah. Anyway, no, trust me, it's all there. Trust me. But the point is that when it's people who are known for being calm and measured are suddenly not.
Yeah.
That's when
spreads, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, there are reasons why the mental fragility at this point in time, this season, is probably more exacerbated than it has ever been. You mentioned the pressure of the situation. There is obviously still the lingering after effects of everything that happened in the summer. I know people don't like talking about it, but we have to flag it up because it's still real. But the point is that it's harder for them to maintain that kind of stoicness, that calmness, that grace under pressure, if you want to call it that, when things are tightest. So that, I think, has contributed to Liverpool losing their heads a little bit, losing late goals. And with Ali, I think if you look at his kicking, that's kind of, you can see now, every time he's had a hamstring injury or a groin injury or something around that area, it's made it a little bit worse. And now it's becoming a bit of a problem. And I think the fact that he can't really trust himself in the same way he used to is maybe also playing into some of these mad decisions that he's been making. But it's a real shame because he's been a fantastic player for Liverpool for so long, and still at his best, he is one of the greatest there is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He just had a bit of a bad day.
Yeah, you don't want to hammer them when they're playing, when they're having a bad day and stuff. Yeah. But it's like I say, because it's someone who is so regularly not like that, I think it does have a greater effect on the others.
Yeah, it's about the again, something we're going to talk about on the other show. The interview Virgil did, where he was talking about the line between fair criticism and respect, and there are definitely people who cross that line on the regular. Maybe that fella that I mentioned before. Yeah, in terms of the momentum and sort of all that, and how quickly that was lost then, and why that was a concern. As I say, it looked, the very first few seconds of the game, it looked like we were bang up for it. The crowd certainly were. And then it felt by sort of 14, 15, it was already gone. You know what I mean? And it was like, it died quite quickly. And I was thinking, well, that would be I reckon that would be literally part of Guardiola's plan and Guardiola's chat about quieting the crowd. It's the old chestnut, the old classic, but that's literally what unfolded, really. And I thought we were a weird one. I'm very much for let crowds do whatever crowds want to do in the main, but there are, we all have moments where you're just like, really? I didn't get Boo and Gay.
No. We talked about it last week, didn't we? We were just like, what's the point?
Boo Richard Hughes if you want them.
So,
because he's the fella who means he doesn't play for Liverpool more than Gay, I would say.
My thing on this is twofold. And I don't agree with any of these reasons, but this is why I think it happened. Firstly, when he was asked about why he chose Man City, he said he wanted to come somewhere and win trophies, which a lot of people instantly took it as opposed to Liverpool, where I wouldn't, which isn't necessarily what he actually said. But there's like a hidden context that people were looking for. And second of all, I think it's one of those situations where people were hoping that it would put him off. I don't think it did put him off. Obviously, there's the moment where he could have been sent off, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But outside of that moment, I thought he played pretty well. His manager was very pleased with him after the game. So it didn't really work. But that's when I heard people booing him, I thought that's what it was. I thought, okay, they're trying to knock him off his stride. They're trying to make him a little bit more.
Didn't work.
He's an experienced fella. He's 25, but he's been playing in the Premier League for a long time. He's played for England. He's experienced big atmospheres and hostile crowds before. I never thought that was going to work.
I mean, halfway through the first half, they'd already racked up 6 shots, and at that point they were running at 71% possession. I mean, that's just no good. That no. For the Liverpool side, playing at home with Anfield behind you, a slot at the weekend where you know that people will have had a bevy and sort of they've done the best to turn up in a state where they're going to get behind the side. That doesn't necessarily have to mean a bevy, but you know what I mean. It's one of it's not an 12:30 on a Saturday where it's everyone's half asleep and things like that. So you got a crowd that's up for it. You've got a slot in the weekend's fixtures that should work for you, and then for us to be so sort of offered and passive and and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I liked. And I was quite surprised to still see criticism, really, to be honest with you. But, we all have different views about football. That's one of the beauties of it. But I liked Kirkes in this game.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was aggressive in a good way. And sort of doing exactly what I'd want to see from a Liverpool player in this game. But, there wasn't enough of that, from his teammates, really. And in terms of us sort of causing them any kinds of problems going the other way, I mean, you've got there just isn't a lot, is there? I think there's McAllister finds Salah at one point, but his shot's blocked by Gay. He tries that lob of Donnarumma, which didn't come off. There was a bit of a wait to Ekatike one where he couldn't get past Gay. Noticed how his name's coming up quite a lot here. And then we sort of we get to half time pretty much, and there's nothing on target from Liverpool at all in that first half. So I kind of thought at half time, well, can't be any worse than that, surely. we all know the stat kicking round about City and that they hadn't been as good in second halves and all that kind of stuff. And like you said before, there's lots of talk, weirdly, which is just nonsense, isn't it? Again, if you don't like the manager, you want him to go, I get it. But saying some stuff like he doesn't do anything tactical. Well, watch what Liverpool looked like in the first half and watch what they looked like in the second. They were taking a lot more risks in the second. Lots of players were higher up the pitch.
Yes.
Quite clearly that was influenced by the manager. So to say he does nothing or did nothing is simply not true. It
is. And it's something that when people have made their mind up about something, they tend to see everything through that prism, don't they? So if there's
seemingly so.
Exactly. But it's like, so if something good is happening, then obviously it's someone else's credit, and if something bad's happening, then obviously it's his fault. But you're right, there was more intent in that second half. I wouldn't be surprised if they'd said to them, look, we've seen how City drop off in second halves. We saw what happened to them at Spurs last week, where they were cruising, and then suddenly 15 minutes into the second half is 2-2, and they don't know what to do. Like, if we hit them, they aren't going to be able to respond. And they were half right. But it was an improved performance. And like you say, with Kirkes, like, for me, I thought Pep was actually quite clever, because Kirkes would have gone into that game thinking, right, me and Semenyo, we had a good little battle in my debut game, had loads of great battles when we played together in training, whatever. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for it. And what did he do? He let Semenyo drift into the centre of the pitch and then try and play balls from there.
He's following him, wasn't he? He's going with him.
Eventually he started following, but you could tell for a while he was a bit like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
And that kind of indecision probably helps City get into those spaces. But yeah, I think game on game now, we're getting to see what Kirkes can bring to this team. And it's not only just that attitude and the aggression and the front-footedness, but it's also sometimes you just need someone to kind of fall in behind, someone to take the initiative when you're a little bit stodgy as a team and it's not quite clicking. You need someone to go on a bit of a run, get everyone going a bit. And he seems to be one of those kind of players. So I think I was happy with him. I want to give another shout out to Konate. Put two good performances together back to back. And without him, I think he was the biggest barrier to City not scoring in that first half, because he made quite a few decent interceptions.
Yeah, played well.
And yeah, I just think, again, it wasn't a million miles away from what we wanted it to look like. Even in the second half, when Liverpool were pressing and getting into more dangerous positions, you just think it's just a little bit away, just a little bit away. And then, obviously, we mentioned the goal. Like, I've not watched social media, Liverpool social media yet today, so I don't know if our good friend Mike Manning has already been on the case. But I had a little sneaky peek at where the ball was for the Arsenal free kick and where the ball was for the Man City free kick from Szoboszlai, and it's basically one roll of the football away. It's almost exactly the same place. One goes in the left corner, one goes in the right corner. Like, could you imagine how it feels to be like, I can just put that wherever I want from 25 yards, 30 yards away. Doesn't matter. Like, just having...
And leave a goalkeeper of that obvious ability absolutely rooted.
Who's also absolutely massive, by the way.
Did you notice, like, ages after he'd scored, when everyone's celebrating, and by the way, the celebrations on the Kop were absolutely brilliant. It absolutely went off. It was great. It was one of them where you're sort of spilling all over onto all kinds of strangers and hugging each other and all that. And so, you know, okay, we didn't win, but we did definitely have a fantastic moment when that flew in. But yeah, it was... Donnarumma started kicking off about something, and I've no idea what he was kicking off about. It was like, mate, you were beaten fair and square by an absolute beauty, and you didn't move. I don't know what you're blaming or what you're kicking off about, but...
I mean, if he thinks that the people in the wall weren't where they're supposed to be, I mean, I'm not sure that they made a massive amount of difference. He literally swerved it around two fellas into the top corner, mate. So, I don't know, maybe... I mean, the goalkeepers they like to do that, though. They have to find something to blame. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen
the Jordan pick for the fact.
Yes. Or, I mean, I'll go further back. Peter Schmeichel, he was the king of that. But I don't think I've ever seen a goalkeeper, like, turn around to put the ball out of net and just be like, fair play, mate, that was good. But sometimes they have to, and that was definitely one of those times.
We just should, I mean, you know, it goes without saying, Uncle Obvious, Captain Obvious, whatever you like. We just should have scored more, shouldn't we? And when we were on top, and that's a really annoying thing. And when you're watching it back and you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, you know, we start the second half well. We have a couple of efforts. You know, where I mentioned how much on top they were in the first half. We flipped that, and you know, sort of 10 minutes or so in, we'd had like 77% of the ball. We'd had 3 shots already in the second half within like sort of 9 minutes. And so, you know, it was a very, very different Liverpool that was sort of out there. And, you know, Wirtz had a shot blocked. That one annoyed me actually around the hour mark, where he just didn't hit it properly.
No.
Didn't hit it with like real purpose. It was just like, put your foot through that. I know you can do it. I've seen you do it. And it was a bit tame. I know Gay blocked it, but I just thought, you know, you could have...
I think he thought he was going to wrong foot him with the way he put it, but he didn't put it in enough pace that he was able to reposition himself and block it. Like, I don't mind him hitting it there, but just hit it with a bit more purpose. And and the other one is obviously the Ekitike header.
Ekitike had a short score.
Yeah, and it's like I find very small things to nitpick with him because he's been so good. But one of them we have mentioned before the season is heading.
Yeah,
it's something that he's gonna have to get a little bit better at. But look, these things happen in games, and it's like you want to score when you're on top. You always do. But then Man City at that point would have been saying exactly the same. Like when our goal went in, Man City would have been cursing themselves. Like, we had all that domination in the first half. We didn't do anything. We gave away the initiative. Like, I don't know if you saw the replay of Guardiola's reaction to Szoboszlai's free kick, but it was very
like slumped. Oh back, didn't it?
It was very, very much like the sloppy teenager. It's
yeah.
Oh God! Of course he scored. Bloody hell! Woe is me. And yeah, you can sense that that's what he was thinking. Like, look, we've got another game where we've had loads of the ball, loads of initiative, and we didn't do enough with it. But credit to them, I guess. They did keep going.
I mean, what did you think of? Obviously, the manager brings it up. I've got to say, like, in the ground, and I watched it in the ground and then went out afterwards. So and funny, the pub we bevy in, we walked in. And the girls behind the bar said, "Don't worry, lads, it's not on." You know what I mean? He literally turned it off, so you didn't have to sit there watching replays of everything. And they put like country fire on, which was for the best.
I mean, they know their clientele.
Yeah, and so we didn't see any sort of replay. I've watched it back today, and so know where it's at now. But in the ground at the time, I thought first watch with my eyes as it happened. I thought Gage pulled him back and Salah was getting to that and scoring. That was how I saw it in the ground. I've watched it back. I've heard what everyone's had to say about it. Most people seem to be saying they can see why he only got a yellow. What did you think yourself?
Yeah, I think it's complicated by the fact that Liverpool got a red for something in a almost similar but not quite the same situation. So that was definitely what Arne Slot was talking about after the game. He thought if one of them's a shirt pull and a red card, the other one's a shirt pull and a red card. It's not quite that simple. Context does come into it. You can make an argument to say that one of the other City players would have been in position to get a block on whatever shot Salah got off. But I will say this. If we were playing in the Champions League, then I'd have expected him to probably get a red card because they do have a much more of a zero tolerance and that kind of stuff in that competition, which shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be that different from one competition to another. But that's just based on the evidence of what we've seen. Like, the other thing, and this might sound harsh, but it was my gut instinct when I saw it, and based on what else we've seen so far this season, I don't think Salah thought he was going to get the ball. I think Salah decided to go down rather than chase the ball down. Now, whether that's because he didn't think he was going to get it and the ball had gone past him, or whether he didn't back himself to put it away once he got there and thought it would be easier to get a penalty and maybe a red card, I don't know. But my guy...
Wasn't a great Mo day, was it?
It wasn't. No.
That free kick was wild. I mean, it was funny because, my mate next to me said, "Oh, I hope Szoboszlai's on this one." And literally the cop sang Dominic Szoboszlai. And it was like, yeah. So, don't take this one, Mo.
So, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like, sometimes when you've got an older fellow in the family, or he used to be able to drive all the time and now he's getting on a bit and he probably shouldn't drive anymore. And you want to go, all right, then you can drive us here. And then he crashes. And then you get to say to him, look, this is what we were saying. You don't get to drive anymore. It was almost like Tom was saying, all right, Eddie, you have this one. And then when he smashes it in, it's like, so next time we have a free kick, just leave it to me, yeah?
I'm on it, yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that came up against us, as I felt it at the time in the ground, was why did we not make any subs earlier? Obviously, when they score, Curtis comes on immediately afterwards and we're sort of waiting around to go on, I think.
That should have happened after we scored.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my point. Really, it was like, why, there are things, and I try and be fair and give lots of context about things that I don't think are the manager. This is the manager.
Yes, I think
he's made a choice to not make any substitutions, and well, not just with hindsight. At the time, I thought it was wrong. I was saying to Gary next to me, "Where are the subs here? And we're not making any subs."
And you can say that he doesn't have faith in pretty much almost every other one of the people on the subs bench. But in Curtis Jones, he has shown a propensity to play him, to start him. Probably not as much as Curtis would like, but he still believes in it. He can be a functioning player in his team. He trusts him in a way that I don't think he trusts pretty much everyone else on that bench. So even if you can only say, oh, well, he's only really going to put one of them on, that one should have happened earlier. And look, I feel like I've been having to go at McAllister a fair bit the last few weeks, and I don't want
join the club.
I don't want it to be personal or anything like that. But
he deserves criticism. He's not played well this season, so it's absolutely fair enough.
I just think that this is one of those options where he can help him and help everybody by taking him out of the firing line that bit earlier, because again, his physical traits are always going to be a bit of a hindrance. And as great as he is, even when he's at his best, I think there comes a point when you get to 75, 80, where you probably think, okay, fresh legs for him. He's done his job. Let's get him off. And I felt like that was coming. And to be honest, I felt like that could have been done before Liverpool scored.
Well, the subs are 85 and 90.
Yeah. And the 91 is after the second goal, when it's like he takes off Kirkes and puts on Chiesa. Again, it's just like, that's not a this is a reason.
I mean, the bench is shit, by the way, and I've got the sympathy over that. Like, I mean, two goalies on there.
Yeah.
Robbo, Ramsey, who he obviously doesn't fancy, Endo, who he doesn't seem to fancy, Leone, who he thinks is too young, Stroke doesn't fancy, Ingemoa, too young, etc.
And it's Man City.
Yeah.
I think Rio, I would give. I think it was fair enough if he doesn't want to throw him on against Man City, because again, it's a massive game, and I've been saying all season long, the time to play Rio isn't when we desperately need something from him, it's when we can. So, for example, I would definitely be looking to give him more minutes against Sunderland, maybe 25, maybe half an hour. Wouldn't even be averse to the idea of giving him a start against Sunderland, but I think Man City is a different kettle of fish. But you're right to say that it's a bit of a catch-22 now with the situation of playing the same players again and again. If you don't trust the other guys on the bench, then those players themselves who you keep playing again and again are going to get injured. And then you're going to end up having to play them on the bench anyway.
And this is where you come to, we've just been talking about things the manager can influence and does influence, and things that are on him. And then we're immediately back to a conversation about, well, things that aren't on him are, why is the squad this thin? Why are we going into a gunfight with a knife, every week? Where is the rest of the squad? Why were the decisions made to let so many go? And yes, it's so boring to hear on almost a daily basis. Yes, but you spent, like, when the same person will not also recognise the amount of players that went out. And Slot has made this point repeatedly, and people seem to sort of make out it's an excuse. The squad is desperately thin. And then even the players that make up this squad are players that he doesn't fancy. And okay, and then we're back to maybe he does control the fact that, well, he should fancy them, or should use them at least, or he should, do the Klopp thing of making them feel part of a family. And it feels like he's a little bit cold to people he doesn't fancy, and they're just sort of jibbed.
Yeah.
And, that is a criticism. But, more should, it's absolutely wild to me still that we did nothing in January. We go and look at the fella who's at Sunderland, decide it's too hard to do, and then just jib it.
Yeah.
Again, as I always say, is there no one in European football who can play right back or centre half that could have helped Liverpool? I don't believe that.
No, I don't. And the thing, the Gertruida thing is really frustrating, because it's like, why would you do that so late? It was almost like it was.
What were you waiting for?
Yeah, it was destined to fail, because if he was a Sunderland player and Liverpool wanted to sign him on loan, then you could say, okay, you've got 3 or 4 days to come to some kind of agreement, and it can be thrashed out. Deals have been done in short term, in short turnarounds before. That's possible. But he wasn't a Sunderland player. He was an RB Leipzig player on loan to Sunderland. So that means you're having to do at least 2 deals that combine and get consensus from at least 2 clubs. Like, why are you then surprised that it's too complicated to do in what ended up being, 48 hours?
Makes no sense.
It doesn't.
Makes no sense.
And again, like you say, if you got to the point where you're thinking, this is a deal we want to do, we believe that this is something that would help us, and then it doesn't come through, you're like, okay, fine. So you've already admitted that there is a need that needs filling, but because this one can't do it, no one can do it.
And this is the bit where I do have sympathy for the manager, because all of these people who are just spending every day sending messages about Slot or whatever. What is any manager doing with this current squad? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm sure, in certain, maybe you make substitutions at a different time, or to do this, or the tactics will be different. Sound okay, happy days. But if he was in charge of Sunderland on Wednesday, there's no right back, whoever the manager is, and whose fault's that? And okay, there's a bit of a freak of, loads of people getting injuries in the same spot, basically. But, the squad being underprepared for this many competitions, which we knew we'd be in, we knew we'd be contesting, that's got to come back to Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, FSG, etc. And so that is where I feel there should be sympathy for the manager, and yet there isn't too much of it about that I see.
Well, I mean, I even would make a difference between sympathy and a sharing of the blame.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like sometimes, this is something I've said before as well, is that people feel like because the change of the manager is the most likely thing to change, then therefore it becomes the only way that the situation changes. But I don't think
the panacea for everything, when it probably wouldn't be.
No, I don't think it would be either. I think that, going back to what we were saying before, sometimes you're just in a bad situation and you've got to just try and fight your way through it with what you have at your disposal.
So after 1-0, the ground is up, the celebrations are brilliant, like I say. Very initially, first couple of minutes, we do still seem to be pushing them back and getting it into their box, but then another 5 minutes on, it's like the psyche changes and we start to give it away cheaply. We're allowing them to come on to us. We're trying these sort of hero balls where I'm a bit like, just try and keep it, lads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try and take the sting out of it. Stop allowing them to come back onto us again by giving it away so cheaply. And it was at that point, I was absolutely crying, saying, get a sub on, get a sub on, get a sub on.
Because I think that has an influence on it.
Yeah.
I think players are tired.
Yeah.
And not only do tired players make wrong decisions, but if it's the choice between playing a 10-yard ball to someone and then making a 20-yard run to then receive the pass back from them, or playing a 50-yard ball so someone else can run onto it, if you're knackered, you're definitely doing the second one, whether they've got a good chance of winning that ball or not. And when you see that happen again and again from everyone, all that happens is that City get the ball back and get the ball back. And the problem is that for all of City's vulnerabilities, they've got some very intelligent, very experienced players who can see when their opponents are starting to flag. Like, it's no coincidence to me that it was everyone's favourite villain, Bernardo Silva, who scored the equalising goal.
Yeah.
And then not only did he score the equalising goal, but he did that thing of getting the ball and running with it back to the halfway line. He was basically signalling to everybody, we're going to win this game now. Like, you're not even getting away with the 1-1. We're going to win this game now. And yet, even then, that wouldn't have happened if not for a massive individual error, which we've already kind of touched on.
Yeah, I mean, on their equaliser, I felt like there was an element of fortune to it, because I think Diaz has crossed the flex off McAllister, which is why there's like that break. And okay, you can do all that. He should react quicker than him, and he's not there, and blah, 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 blah.
It's the only header that either centre-half lost all game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. By and large, I thought they defended well. So to sort of throw Canate under the bus for being beat by Haaland in that specific moment. Not really on, I don't think. No. We then do get the sub on, finally. Jones comes on for Gakpo. He has a bit of a moment where he does what we all did, where it was like, shit, if that ball had gone through to Salah, we were in.
By the way, again, I was sitting next to Aldo, and yeah, he nearly threw his microphone into the stand at that point. It was just like, oh my God.
I was going to say, I bet he made some classic Aldo noises.
Oh, yes.
Which anyone who listened to his commentaries back in the day will remember. But yeah, then it was sort of, it felt a little bit like we were very much under the cosh at that point. We had a poor header from Salah. We had a poor kick from Alisson, which I think we were touching on. Alisson had the mad one at the start of the half as well, where he came up to Marmouche and just completely missed. Like, he just had a bit of a wild afternoon, didn't he? And then the rash moment, 91st minute, concedes the penalty, felt all very unnecessary. Of course, the robot scored. And then Chiesa on for Kirkes. A bit of a crap shot from him was his only contribution that I can really remember. Ait Nouri, if I can't even say his name, he hits one.
That was right.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
It's one straight at Alisson. Then we had that McAllister one, which I think that takes a deflection, doesn't it, as well? That's a fantastic save from Donnarumma. No one seemed to talk about what I thought looked like a potential foul on Chiesa in the box. Just seems everyone just cracked on, didn't talk about it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't remember seeing a replay on that one.
No,
either.
That's what I mean. Everyone just cracked on. It was like he appealed for it, and it definitely looked like he was caught, but everyone just carried on because the game was wild at this point.
Honestly, yeah.
I'm sure for anyone watching it who had no skin in the game, they were absolutely loving it. And then we get the madness, the ball rolling in from Cherky while Alisson's out of the goal. Dom and Haaland fouling each other. It goes in the net. I leave. Because I'm like, it's 3-1 and there's like 1 minute left and I fancy a pint. And then, I get on me as I'm like walking up down Waltonbreck Road. I've got like my watch is pinging saying it's back to 2-1. It wasn't allowed. And I was thinking, what have they done there? So yeah, I've watched all the madness back. Obviously, you will all know, direct free kick, man sent off. I mean, I would say, as someone who just watches football and doesn't really care about fucking rule books, I'll be the fella to say, who in the world wanted that?
No.
Just let them have the goal, let them have the advantage, jib the red card. Dom plays Wednesday, no one would have been complaining. But, it's all right because some gonk somewhere's decided that this is the law and that, because Haaland fouls Dom back, he therefore can't have an advantage because he fouled him. Like, fuck off, lads. Do you know what I mean? Like, VAR's shite.
It is. And I think it was notable that was one thing that both managers agreed on.
Yeah.
Just give the goal.
Yeah, everyone did, didn't they? Everyone just sort of sighed and shrugged and just sort of went, oh, come on, mate. It just would have been sound to just give the goal.
Yeah.
You know what would have been really intriguing? What would they have done if that was for them to win it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'd love to have seen that.
If it had been 1-1.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And very noticeable after all that madness, just blew the whistle straight away.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's it now.
And also, like, their free kick was like on the edge of the area, and Liverpool had no one in defence. It was almost like a long range penalty because there was no one in between Cherky and Alisson, and he clearly
it's crap finish by the way as well by him. Hit it properly, lad, and then we would have had none of this problem. You know what I
mean? But no, it's again, I think. One of those things that what I was saying before about Alisson and his injuries, I think that might have played a part in why he decided to just kind of mooch around in their half rather than sprinting back once he realised he wasn't going to get his head to the ball from is it a free kick or a corner or whatever he was up for. Because, that might have stopped it as well. But yeah, I mean, even if that goal doesn't go in, then it's still a defeat. But yeah, we do have Dom for the game against Sunderland. But
Yep. Well, there are people out there, no doubt, dying to hear some negativity. I thought I was pretty positive at the start, all told, and then I had someone saying in the comments, where's the positivity, Robbo? I was like, that was it. And now, here with the negativity, the hard truths. This was the 14th time in the last 20 games that Liverpool have failed to win, and they have taken 3 points in just 6 games since September the 20th.
Yikes.
It was the 4th time the champions have conceded a stoppage time winner in the Premier League this season. It was the latest Liverpool have ever led in a Premier League game before losing. And in that first half that we mentioned before, according to Opta, Liverpool faced 10 shots, the joint most on record in a Premier League match at home. City had 61% possession, and their passing accuracy into the final third was 84% before half-time. Liverpool's was 43%, which, shite. But, Slot went on to say, and rightly so, second half, our standards went up. Standards in terms of intensity, we were pressing them all over the place. That's the biggest improvement we've made in the last 3 or 4 months. The whole team is now able, at the highest level, to do so well off the ball. Fantastic second half. I expected to be more than 1-0 up, but we weren't, and then 2 goals conceded. There's not much more to say on it, is there really?
No. I'm impressed how long we've managed to talk about it, really. Essentially, it's just one of those things that was really disappointing. You hope that it's something that they can shake off, because what I was saying before about this team being frustratingly unpredictable, that kind of goes both ways. So when you have 2 good games and you think that you can maybe get third, they can't. But when you have a bad game, that does also mean that maybe the next one ends up being surprisingly good.
Love some of the comments today. Anthony here just saying, we're crap, lads. I mean, we need something else. We need a bit more for an hour's podcast.
Yeah, and I don't think anything we are saying kind of goes against that. I think we've all acknowledged the fact that this is not good. This is not where we'd want to be.
Yep.
But we here at the Late Challenge podcast try to be reasonable, try to offer some kind of positivity, and also try to kind of look at the wider context of why these things are happening. So we're just crap probably wouldn't work for an hour.
No. Next, then, it is Sunderland. We mentioned Sunderland Wednesday night, 8:15. Another cracker for fans there. Well, in the Premier League, for just completely ignoring supporters who can ask you over and over again to make kick-off times and kick-off days suitable for working fans who travel to games.
By the way, I just looked at the train prices as well. Yeesh.
I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, Sunderland is over 3 hours drive from Liverpool. So that's, over a 6-hour round trip plus on a working night and a working day. I mean, how do you expect us to get there for kickoff without doing something with work, etc.? They just don't give a fuck, do they? Fortunately, there are people out there trying to make them give a fuck. And I do always say, without them, things would be much, much worse. It's got to be Curtis at right back, hasn't it? First of all, I mean, the choices are him or Endo.
Yeah,
he doesn't really like Endo. I think it's fair to say if you look at the minutes he's played under Slot, not a lot. So you'd think Curtis at right back, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that might be tempted to try to get Curtis into midfield. I'm not entirely sure who's playing left wing for Sunderland at the moment. So if it's someone
it'll be someone absolutely brilliant who'll have the game of his life, I imagine.
But what I mean is whether it's someone who they think will give them trouble, and so you'd want a more natural defender, or whether it's someone who they'd say they think it's not necessarily going to be such a problem. But I mean, personally, I would quite like to see Curtis Jones play where he normally naturally plays, and maybe look at giving Mac a rest. I know it feels crazy when there's so few players out there to talk about resting players and all that kind of gear. And I know that obviously they can get the rest of the weekend because the FA Cup is happening, and this is when Trainioni and Endo will highly likely start. Hopefully Joe Gomez will be back by then as well.
Surely you've got to take that FA Cup game seriously, though.
Yeah, they have. But, I mean, how seriously are Brighton going to be taking it? Look where they are on the table. They got beat again at the weekend in their big derby game. So, there are quite a few decisions still to be made, despite.
I mean, people saying Ramsey, he just doesn't rate him, does he? And like he quite, brutally honest, whatever you want to call it. Like personally, I didn't like it, but he basically said like there are better players than him in the squad. He doesn't rate him. He literally doesn't rate it. And also, if you look at where he's been playing his football, etc., an okay half against Palace is all we've seen, and then people keep going on about him week after week. There'll be a reason he's not picking him, which is that he doesn't rate him.
Yeah, and it's almost works both ways, isn't it? It's because we haven't seen him, people assume that he could be better than what we believe him actually to be. But the problem is, as you say, Slot has seen him in training
daily,
week and week out.
Yeah,
and so this is one of those times where you're probably going to have to trust his judgment over our own. But yeah, it makes it worse when there is no other options. And obviously, again, this is another one of those hangovers from Jurgen where we were used to him finding someone who had no experience in something and turning them into a player, even if only for a short period of time. And this manager seems to do things differently.
Do you worry at all about on that? Do you worry at all about that? It doesn't see. I don't know. I've got no knowledge of it. I'm just a fan. But when you look at it, you think, is the academy as close to the first team as it was under Slot? Because he made a big point of going there, and we knew he went there, and like you say, the kids from the academy would get a go in cups and things like that, and not only would get a go, would perform and would look good and seem to have a link with the manager. Do you think that is there on the basis of what we see here, etc.?
I don't think it's as strong as it was under Klopp.
Yeah, it doesn't seem does it?
But I would also point out that in terms of managers of the top clubs who are going for the top prizes.
Harry Redknapp here?
Yeah, sorry. top. Anyway, Klopp was kind of an outlier. Most of them are like Slot. More of them are like Slot than they are like Klopp. You could almost say Pep Guardiola is another outlier because he does trust a lot more of youth than you see at that level. But for the most part, managers, again, going back to what I was saying before about having to think about the short term, they are more thinking about, well, if I lose this game, then bad things happen. And also, when it comes to Slot, we have to remember the one time he did do that and play loads of kids was that game against Palace in the League Cup. Liverpool got beat and he got absolutely hammered for it.
That was horrible.
And so I think it's a really hard balance to strike in general. But I also think that you have to be honest about the talent that Liverpool have got in those youth teams. I think we're getting to a situation now where the best of the academy players are probably on loan rather than playing for the under-21s, which then means that if you need them at short notice, they can't have them. I would be fascinated to know what the situation would be if Liverpool had a 100% fit Jayden Dance and Stefan Bajcetic, because I think those two may well have had a better chance of getting minutes than a lot of the other academy kids. But again, there's no definitive answer here. That's part of the problem.
No. Thanks to long-term watcher, listener, etc. Brace DeVille, who's thrown us $10 and says, games like yesterday's makes me long desperately for crisp chat. Cheers,
Well,
cheers, lads.
Still got a few in the box.
Yeah. We still got a couple of packets left. Trying to cut down this year, trying to lose a bit of weight, much needed. Anyway, Sunderland, just to wrap up then, on a few little bits and bobs on Sunderland. None of this is going to make you feel any happier, but it is what it is. So obviously we drew with them in December. They are unbeaten in their 12 matches in the Premier League at home, won 7, drawn 5, including draws with Manchester City and Arsenal. Historically, maybe we can get a bit of solace from that. Well, Sunderland's last win over Liverpool was in 2012. It's drawn 5, lost 6 for them since. Liverpool unbeaten in their last 5 trips up to the Stadium of Light. Depressing stat alert if they weren't already. Liverpool have now drawn their last 4 games against promoted sides. The last time they went 5 without a win against promoted sides was 1981.
Wow.
Wow.
Liverpool won the European Cup that year.
Liverpool have won only 2 of the last 10 on the road, drawn 3, lost 5, conceded 21 goals away from home, which is more than Wolves.
There's the other thing that we have to bring up, or we don't have to, but I'm probably going to bring it up just to prepare yourselves, because you know you're going to see it when you watch. If you're watching the coverage of this game, you're going to see it. It's 2 words, and it's going to take us all back to a very horrible place, so bear with me. Beach ball.
Yeah, you're going to say that.
We're going to see it again. I just want to prepare you all for it. It's coming back.
Do you know what? If it happened, I'd just be like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that would be a very this season thing to happen.
The way Everton's going, just be like, yeah, of course. Of course. Okay. Come and join us on the subscriber show if you fancy it over on Patreon. We shall be talking a little bit more about Arne Slot and how he is or isn't fitting into the job. A lot of that is going to be based on some of the stuff that Jonathan Northcroft wrote over the weekend, which was interesting, made some good points, I thought, despite obviously him stirring up loads of rage online, because we're all so ragey in the world, aren't we? I'll also be bringing back something that we used to talk about, which is bellends. I feel like we haven't talked about bellends for a while on the Late Challenge, so I've got a Premier League bellend of the week for you. Not literally, by the way, if you're getting worried there. We're also going to talk a little bit about the media and clickbait after Virgil van Dijk's comments in his interview with Gary Neville. And then if we get time as well on the subscriber show, we might have a little chat with us about, we've been talking about ideas about how we can keep the Late Challenge going, how we might morph into other little ideas, other little shows, how can we keep building it, that kind of thing. So we might share some of those ideas with you if we have time at the end, because we're keen for it to keep on going. 3 years it is now, as I said at the start. So we're still going, we're still keeping it going. If you like it, share it, tell people about it, do all the stuff that, you know, helps us. Click like, click subscribe on YouTube. None of that things cost you any money. And then if you do fancy throwing us a bit of dough, come over to Patreon, you get an extra show. £1 a week basically to get that extra show, £4 a month. That's right, I think. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And also,
particularly in February, because it's only 4 weeks.
Yeah, and we're also on Buy Me a Coffee, but ours is called Buy Me a Barry's. So if you look up the Late Challenge podcast and Buy Me a Coffee, and you're not asked about an extra Patreon show, but you just want to chip in to help keep the lights on, you can do that there. But thanks very much to everyone who has watched so far. Thanks to everyone who listened to this as a podcast as well. We'll keep on going. Liverpool will too. And hopefully we'll see them win again soon. Please.
Please.
See you next week.